soul on the dotted line. That's about
so they're still sitting around and they're going to...
They're going to listen. Answers. And now they're listening to a conversation that Dad wanted to have anyways, because Daddy just recently found out that he thought he had psoriatic arthritis, was misdiagnosed, and now they say I'm a crazy person because I have phantom pains, and they call it fibro. Not your algia. It's mine. Get your own algia. So
you got fibromyalgia.
Yeah, but they make me feel like a crazy person because you could show it to me on the map of the X-ray, and there is no showing you on the map of the X-ray. So I digress. Right. That's not the big problem. The big problem is all the side effects of having such a crazy disorder: foggy brain disorder, manic displace of mood disorder, of also depression. So it looks like if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, it's a duck. So you look like you're bipolar until you have fibromyalgia. Then you just have depression and mania.
Oh.
And the third and foremost, and that's part of the reason of the cast, and I didn't know that was the part of the reason of the cast, is that I have my short-term memory. People would like to blame the medical marijuana that I've been using for the last 5 years, that has helped me severely. And they're telling me that my life is turned upside down because of the medical marijuana, and that's why the foggy brain or the foggy memory or no short-term memory, which again is, of course, a part of the fibromyalgia, is happening. So I'm going to have a conversation with a great human being, which I have over the course of the last 2 years. And like yourself, you're going to give me some pieces of information.
Okay, I got lots of information to help you with all that.
Yeah, are you blending drinks?
No, sorry, I'm just getting a little cereal together.
That's
like,
funny.
A la Seinfeld. Sorry.
Oh man, this is the best. What I love about AudioCast is theater of the mind. I had you blending margaritas at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's what
I do have a blender, but no, it wouldn't be margaritas and it wouldn't be 10 in the morning. And no, that's not it. It's cereal going into a bowl. You got a great connection with these days with mics and Skype and stuff.
You're not wrong, and kids, because what people love to hear on the radio is people eating. So look forward to that soon here live from my bedroom online.
I'll do the best I can. It's just the time of day. You know what? Because of my condition, I got to eat at certain times and stuff like that, right around the medications and whatnot. Sometimes I'm eating when I'm not hungry.
Yeah, got that every time. That's actually why I eat. I gained 20 pounds but looked healthy because I ate for the medication. They've taken me off the medication since February 15th, and now I have to go see a psychologist or a psychologist or a psychologicalist or a bicyclist. Somebody has an ist and they want to get inside me and work it out. But I actually need some help now because I need a coping skill. I need something. And my kids are dealing with a yelly dad who clearly goes from 0 to 1. I'm like walking around like Regis meets Gene Wilder. It's no good. It's no good.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm talking to you for a whack of reasons. Puff Mama, when I went to her premise and she was talking about this extravaganza that she was having for medical marijuana, your name came up a bunch of times. And that cast is available to you on the Palmcast Network from Live from My Bedroom in Season 2. So you can check that out if you want to hear what...
I'm going to wait, though. Let's you and I have this conversation first. I'll do that later, but thanks.
Of course. No, I'm right. I'm just letting you know that it exists and that she said nice things. And from that moment on, I've been reaching out to you through online media and through social media. I don't have your phone number. I would have called. And I really wanted to get inside your head. Because at that time, at that moment, we're talking now, it would have been almost 9 months ago, you were, she called it remission. That's what. Yeah. It's all in her head. I did not know. I knew that you had cancer and that you were fighting cancer.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what type of cancer, where the cancer was, what phase of the cancer. I got nothing other than you were given medicines and you said I'd rather not take the medicines, and you took medical marijuana in some fashion or another, and it worked. And they didn't want to believe that it worked. They assumed you really just took the medicines, and the medicines worked. So that's the story we told. And so to recap from the horse's mouth, as it were. Where are we and how are you?
Well, all of that is accurate, but it's old, so it needs updating.
Please.
It happened that I was taken by this diagnosis in November of 2013, and as soon as I got the diagnosis, I was immediately interested in medical marijuana. Actually, before the diagnosis, I was sitting in brutal agony in the waiting room, the emergency room, which is really a waiting room. You're going to wait a while. And I was sitting there waiting for, whatever I was going to hear, whatever the doctor who eventually was going to come was going to tell me. And I started to think back on how many times I've heard about medical marijuana and people using it. And I was not a user at the time. I had been before, but I'd stopped. And but I thought, gee whiz, even if it takes away some nausea, even if it helps with a headache or something, yeah, I'll do it. And so I got this diagnosis of prostate cancer. It was aggressive, advanced prostate cancer. I know a lot of people think, oh, prostate, that's no problem. It isn't if you catch it early enough. And if you don't catch it early enough, it's just like a cancer like any other. It's not to be trifled with. It's not something you can, oh, that's no problem, that cancer, that's easy.
Right.
So that's someone that's not had cancer dealing with that
Right.
opinion. But anyway, I needed to get busy with this stuff right away. And then by the time I got to see an oncologist, it's about a month later, because you get right on that thing. By the time I got to see him, he basically said that there was no option available for me surgery-wise, or they couldn't take it out for some reason. And even if they did, it wouldn't help because it had already metastasized into the bones, through all kinds of places in the body, which, is terrible to hear, but it also explains the gradual falling apart and shutting down and having pains and feeling like in 2013, oh, well, I guess I'm just getting older now. I guess that's all, that's what happens. No, but I was way, way worse than that, and it just got ridiculous. So I started using the cannabis almost right away, thanks to Puff Mama helping me find some, because, I wasn't really dialed into where you might obtain this. And it started to have an effect right away in the pain department, and it also made me go to sleep very heavily, which I needed to do to rest. And it had a lot of positive benefits that I was then not able to duplicate with the one drug that they wanted me to try at the hospital. There was one particular drug, and I can't get into the specifics of the drug right now, and I can't get too heavy on this because this particular doctor, did such a poor job that I have to report him to the College of Physicians and Surgeons and launch an official complaint against his attempt at being my doctor. And I say this because, I had a great year in 2014 with the cancer at bay, and things were going very well. And you know what? It came back. It came back at the beginning of this year. Winter hit hard for me, and it came back furiously. And I had then needed to since get myself to the hospital, and in an ambulance this time. It was everything that was problematic last time was way, way, way more worse. It was insane how bad it was. The last several weeks prior to my going into a hospital again, where I met a fantastic doctor who had nothing but avenues of possibility for me, and I just don't understand why, if he was able to help me as best he could now, way, way worse than I was, where was this other guy getting off saying, there's nothing we can do, you've got 10 or 12 months to live, I'm so sorry. It wasn't true, and it wasn't careful, and I'm going to follow that up and him up later with this particular, and we can talk about that another time. But basically, I have since had this massive relapse. The cancer came back. Now, what were we talking about? A bad number of a PSA, they call it, of 700, which is probably about 693 higher than you'd ever want to believe. And but this time around, it came back at 1285. So I don't know what kind of interior Superman genes I have that was able to resist that at all for any kind of time. 1285 on a PSA is ridiculous. And so now this guy was able to, though, help me with it. I have had a radiation treatment, a single solitary radiation treatment that I took back in April, and it seems to have corrected a lot of the. So this is just something that I was not afforded last time, because apparently last time that other doctor said I was too far gone for this. So he's not right. He's not right, because there I am a year and a half later in way, way worse condition, getting a radiation treatment, and guess what? One that's been doing a very good job of keeping things at bay. So all of the time up until that radiation treatment, I had been taking the cannabis oil, and guess what? I had increased my dosage, and it was incredible how much pain relief it offered, because since getting into the hospital and recuperating over the last, let's say, month and a half, 6 weeks, it's incredible to me that I have not taken this cannabis oil for about the past month because I was on all these other medications that they did give me. Different reasons I'll get into. One's a painkiller, one deals with the prostate, one deals with your stomach so that you don't get weird while you're taking these other pills and on and on. But I took a little sample of a third. I took a third of a daily dose of what I used to take as cannabis oil full, and it laid me out for like 15 hours the other day because I had built up to that. But this thing really flattened me out for such a long time, and it's all because I had not had it in my system and I wasn't used to it anymore. And it's crazy because when I was on this thing, I was gobbling it up constantly, and it didn't seem to cause any kind of high effects at all. It was just, it goes right to the pain. If you don't have a problem, you're just going to get real high. So if you have pain and you have issues, it goes to that. It works to that specifically. So maybe that's a lot to talk about, and I'll give you some room to ask questions or whatever.
Well, you ain't wrong. I'm living the same world you are, with the failure of doctors. Just like I remember high school, there was good teachers and bad teachers.
Yeah.
The teachers that may look like they got the A, and the teachers that clearly got a C but still got a job. See, I think doctors have to be exactly the same thing, because the joke I used to tell on stage is we've only worked together once, Alan, once in the whole history of my performing career. And after that, you were just sincere about the material that you heard. You called was pedestrian, and there was one joke you hadn't kind of heard before, and you were interested in it when it was me doing an impression. And so you were supporting the impressions in my world, which I was afraid to do on stage because I'm not an impressionist, I'm a mimic. So I have to hear it right before I do it. So it's a different type of I can't really load myself up. There's like some voices that I think I'm close to, and anyway, I thank you for that. You were very kind off stage when we were working together. I think it was the Clintons.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a way to go.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So, but with that, and with reaching out to you now, you tell an interesting story. But I'm in the same boat with my misdiagnosis of psoriatic arthritis. They gave me medicine that made me almost go blind, give me blood disease, as well as the looks of hemophilia, which I wasn't making enough platelets or white blood cells. And so since February 15th of this year, your story scares me, sir. I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor, but we don't even care about health until our health is a problem. And we're men. I mean, we're even worse than women. At least women are squeezing their boobies once in a while. Kids, that's women have the choice to make fat cells inside their breasts and the boobies, and so they give it's called mammaries is what they are called in diagnosis. That's why it's called a mammogram. That's why it's the mammaries. So those are the glands that are hanging off. Anyway, those are the things your mom has and women have. Okay. So, but they do that. They worry about their bodies from the beginning of when they're 11 years old, because their body says, hey, look at me. You have to understand me more.
Right.
And men, I think we're like 35. We get something and we're like, that kind of hurts. Do I got one on the other side? And if we do not go to the doctor. So lucky you don't have like dual tumors on your back, because, oh, it's called a mirror tumor. It gives you one on both sides of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would kill men in a heartbeat. If that actually existed, all men on the planet would die. So we don't do this. A prostate exam, right now I'm going to tell you boys, if you're over the age of 40, I'm 52, so the last 12 years, I've gone bowling without a lane anywhere. Felt like a bowling ball. That's what I'm trying to say. So I suggest to people out there to do that. This can only help, as you've just told me. Any diagnosis early can help this situation.
Sure,
but I don't know.
I was dealing with a situation, so this is where I get introduced to cannabis because I was so far down the line. Now I had that notion when I was in the waiting room, in the emergency room. But once I started doing this thing, I realized that it's very, very effective at what it does. And I started to research, more about it and got into the world of cannabis versus cancer.
Right. Oh, specifically for cancer, not just for painkiller, which is why I'm allowed to use it I have a card, which I've had for now 5 years, that allows me to use it, but it's for pain because they were giving me 320 Tylenol 3s a month.
Yeah. No, this is for pain, but it's also specifically anti-cancerous. And that's the thing that was really exciting to me about it, because the more I learned about cannabis, like the guy that identified THC as a compound, for starters, back about 41 years ago, or 1964, I think it was, 50 years ago. This guy is still alive and still researches. He's an Israeli. The Israelis are far ahead of just about everybody else in cannabis cancer research. And I forget this guy's name. Mechulam, I think his name is. Mechoulam. I believe that's his last name, or maybe EM. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, this guy discovered THC as the component that is the psychoactive component. Just to say, this guy knows a lot about it, and he says now today, oh God, yeah, the anti-cancer properties of cannabis are undeniable. And here's the thing: because I was so far against the wall, basically, this guy at the emergency room, they said it's aggressive, advanced prostate cancer that is already metastasized. And, blah, 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 your PSA is 700 and blah, 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 all this. And there was no time for me to ask permission to fill out a form, to send it in, to hopefully allow a bureaucrat to say, yes, this guy can have this thing. Or maybe, as they say sometimes, no, this guy can't have this thing. And I'm so sorry. I was not in a place where asking for permission or sitting around waiting for a bureaucratic system of paperwork to materialize was going to be any kind of thing. Even at that time, the government has changed the laws from one set of rules to another. Those laws were coming up in transition soon, and I just didn't want to get into it. I just thought, I'm going to take this cannabis right now and get started right now. I'm not going to ask permission if I can live. So that's what I did. Now, that's how I found out that it has more to do with rectifying your body properly, more to do than just numbing pain and doing that sort of real cool topical stuff. It actually does a lot of work towards the undoing of the cancer. And I experienced that for quite a long time. Now, cancer, unfortunately, as a lot of people who have gone through some kind of chemo or some kind of radiation or what have you, or combinations, will tell you, it comes back. It doesn't always come back, but it can, and it does. And when it does, it hits hard. And that's what I've just survived. Now, I don't know if I would have survived that had I gone through a whole course of chemo and radiation and everything else, because that stuff really does weaken your immune system.
Okay. Did I lose you, or?
No, I just stopped there because I think, I don't want to talk in
the problem
10 minutes at a time.
Well, it sounds like it's my show, but the reason I'm calling you is because I want you to have your show.
Okay.
But is the truth. But you said THC. Moving forward, you said the THC is what you were talking about, a man in Israeli THC.
Just in the capacity, I'm not touting it as the most amazing thing.
No. I need to know about the CBD. That's the question.
Right. I'm just saying that the guy who identified THC as the component.
No, I got it, but the component is the cancerous, not the CBD. The THC is what helps with the cancerous ailment.
It both does. I mean, you need CBDs in there. They both help. I'm just trying to validate this guy's credentials. Here's a guy 50 years ago identifying this thing for what it is across the board.
No, I got it. I just wondered what the active ingredient is. Now you're telling me it's both. It's THC and CBD.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I have pain, heavy pain, I am not getting high, and I can go all the way up to like 24 or 26% THC.
Yeah, but that's because that's what I said earlier.
No, I know. But when I don't have a lot of pain and I take something that has 26%, sometimes you get a little high. But if I go down to like 16% or 15, like you can really start,
exactly,
really becoming like a chemist at home. Now the problem is that no one really knows what they're doing. I mean,
that's true.
Puff Mama knew what she was doing, and if I didn't know a Puff Mama before I went to a doctor, the doctor didn't know. He sends me to a website where I can just pick and choose how high I want to be versus what's going to actually help me. Now, is there something on the market for cancer specific that people should be looking for in their medical marijuana? That would be my question.
Just as high a count of CBDs as you could get, and don't tinker with the THC. A lot of people now are puritanical. I just about said a word I wouldn't say because your kids are there.
Nice.
I'm glad I caught myself.
Puritanical. Kids, do never use the word puritanical. You'll go down. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of people that say, the trouble with marijuana is, and they'll go on to some big thing about why it's a problem. And it isn't, because like you say, if you're in a whack of pain, God, I was taking so much at the end, and I was just feeling normal. I was going like, I don't know if this is good stuff or not. I don't know if this is working at all. Because
because it was working.
Yeah, because if it has something to do, that's what it's going to do. If it doesn't have anything to do, well, you're going to get high.
You're going to get high.
That's why people, the same thing. If you take a bunch of prescription drugs, it's the same thing. If you don't have the ailment that the prescription drug is looking for, it's going to cause some other kind of problems, like some kind of toxic overload in your liver, or some kind of problem.
No, 100%. So that's how I kind of knew I needed it, and it was working. And like your story, I'm so happy that you became. I just don't want you to go to jail. I'm not too sure what the conversation is with the police when you say, "Hi, I have cancer. I'm looking to help my cancer, and didn't want bureaucracy." That would just make me. I would be so angry watching the CBC with that being a news story.
Oh, I see it all the time.
No, I know, but it's killing me.
Backpedaling that they say that nonsense. Some people believe that it may help. It's like, oh God, can you put a little more buffer on that? Gee whiz.
All right. Not only does it help, where do I have to sign? I'm 6 years in. I mean, Stelara that has 5 years in. Doctors are allowed to give hand over fist. I'm taking methotrexate instead, which is helping my autoimmune system. And if it wasn't for that, I'd be walking around looking like a rash. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm an elephant man, dude, and because of medical science, and that's methotrexate, I'm allowed to walk around looking human. And because of medical marijuana, I have the same. And they took it away from me February 2nd, 2014, and said, "I'm sorry, we're changing the rules. We're going to let people try to sell it to you, private people," except they couldn't set up shop quick enough. So from February to June, I did not have a source of painkiller, and my life turned upside down. And I got to be honest, I look like a fiend.
Well, that's exactly the reason I sensed ahead of time that could be the case with cannabis. And that's the reason I went, look, I'm getting such a great response out of this now. I'm not going to subject myself to the whims of bureaucracy and the uptight nonsense of the conservative mindset that seems to have its hands on the tiller of this country. So I don't care about the permission and the asking questions, from people. If they ask me, I tell them what's going on. I don't recommend it for anybody. I just tell you, this is what I'm doing. And this is why I'm not asking for permission. The whole notion of asking for permission to grow or use a plant that's from a seed that grows in the dirt, that's watered by the rain, and the sun comes out. There's nothing in there where you have to charge me money or put me on against any kind of illegality. And I'm sure they'll try, and they may try and whatever, but at the end of the day, I still have my end of the day,
No, they were just trying to stop the gangsters with all these grow houses. I mean, it's the same weight of gold. It's the same price as gold. You're growing gold, and that's the problem, Alan. Not you.
Well, now you're getting into corporatocracy. Now you're getting into the fact that if you're selling it now, you're profiting from it in a certain way. If you're doing it properly, you're profiting from it. And meanwhile, we've got folks in jail right now who are also selling it and are in jail right now. So, I mean, what's that all about?
No, 100%. I don't agree with that either.
I don't know this to be a fact, okay, but I have heard from a couple of different people that do purchase from
the government,
legal purveyors, legal.
I am one of those. I have 3 suppliers, sir. So, what's your question?
Okay, my question is it true, or have you been asked, as I have heard from some people, it depends on the company, that not only when you become a customer of that company, you also have to sign some kind of waiver or make some kind of affirmation that you won't grow any cannabis in your home or recommend anybody does that?
No, never saw that. No.
Oh, okay. So there's a few companies out there that are actually doing that.
Well, there's a lot of companies out there now. It was
sure.
licensed to get gold. I mean, these people anyone who had $1 million and is willing to shoot another human being in the face to keep their $1 million, you too can be in business.
Well, a woman contacted me a while ago, and she said, "Is it true what happened with your cancer? I saw your video and everything." And I said, "Yeah, that's all true." And she said, "Well, that's great news because my boyfriend is starting a grow up, and he would love to know this kind of information." And I thought, if he's just starting a grow up and he doesn't already know this kind of information, well, he's just in it for the money. I mean,
right? No, that's business.
There's nothing wrong with making money, but they're setting it up now where it's just nobody cares about the quality and the level of the consistency of.
Hold on, are we talking about medical marijuana or the comedy industry?
Well, that's both. Yeah, it could be.
I think that's what the problem. I mean, that's the problem right across the board. Our parents would tell us, and our parents' parents would tell us, the quality of things made by steel, with steel, and everything made at home changed, and the whole world is now changing. And the grow houses that should be helping us are actually just making really bad people wealthy. See, if everyone was growing it for old ladies and you and I to make sure we don't have pain, that's interesting. Or the people who just, want to smoke a joint on the weekend instead of drink a 40. 40 is the large bottle of alcohol that Daddy drinks for the anxiety. Anyway.
That's the best you could do.
You know what, though?
So
yes.
What you're coming down to is the fact that the government of Canada, specifically...
Right? It is Canadian. This is a federal thing, boys. This is not Ontario specific. But in Ontario, and only Ontario, they fought for the right to keep the growing licenses alive still. It's still in flux.
Yeah. Well, the trouble is, though, is that the basic fundamental problem with Canada has made itself known to me due to the fact that I've had this problem. And because of a particular leg of research that I have here. And we could talk about that a little bit. I don't want to get too heavy into it. But basically, years and years ago, it was made clear, and it is so written in the founding documents of this country, that the provinces have a certain jurisdiction over the residences, and so do the federal government. And they're not supposed to double up on that ever. In other words, the exclusive powers of taxation belong to the government that is the provincial government within which you live, as well as the municipal government, which kind of makes sense, right? Pay your house taxes and pay your Ontario thing, or pay your BC thing, or your Alberta thing, because that's where you live. Any kind of taxation from the government of Canada that double dips in there is thoroughly illegal and happens all the time. This was shown in a case in 1950 that it was proven that beyond their respective spheres, both Parliament and the legislatures, the provincial legislatures, are powerless, and each is specifically denied the legislative powers given to the other. And that's just the way it is in our founding documents. That's just the way we are. And if you don't like that and you don't think that's cool, then go ahead and try to change the rules. But you can't. That's the founding document. But the governments of both times, they just say, well, we don't care about that. We're going to do it anyway. And so they've got this massive thing, this weighted bureaucracy hanging over everyone's head, and it causes fear and concern to the point where people don't even know how and why cannabis works. And I'm getting to a point here. The reason you don't know why and how much CBDs, and you had to learn this from Puff Mama, who is well researched, and not it's because it's illegal, and it's because everybody that's working with it or using it or developing it or trying to develop a better strain, they got to look over their shoulder all the time because of what's happening. They're going to make sure they're not going to get arrested or getting caught or get in trouble. So it slows down any kind of above board research. Like you could buy a can of Coke or a thing of margarine. It'll tell you on there exactly how much polyunsaturated fat, how much salt, how much protein, how much everything. But you can't get this on cannabis unless you are dealing with a laboratory that's well set up and protected from prying eyes, and they can identify these compounds for you and get it done properly. And then you can take, now I'm taking 2 different kinds of cannabis oil from a particular laboratory. Why is that? When I started, I was just rolling up, not rolling it up, but using regular cannabis to create the oil that I needed and, hope for the best. And it seemed to do pretty well. Then I realized later on, you need to make sure you're covering specific ground and getting certain medical, components from the cannabis. So specifically, I have a type of cannabis that I use that is specifically attacking the problem within the bones, within what they call the metastases in the bones, specifically goes after that. And the other type of cannabis that I use deals with the more squishy parts, the actual prostate itself and the blood system and the lymphatic, all that kind of gushy, your organ stuff. Imagine that, 2 different kinds of cannabis attacking, because of their components, 2 different angles of the cancer. And I just flip back and forth between the 2. Now, I couldn't have known that before. I couldn't have known that without some kind of research, but that came at a high cost. It came at me paying a laboratory that's actually involved with bloody 2-eye electron microscopes and everything else, finding components, understanding the full compositional makeup of said cannabis. So you know what you're getting, just like everything else, just like a friggin' chocolate bar or whatever. Why not? And the reason it doesn't happen, and if it does happen, it's expensive, is because they've got it set up that... See, the thing about cannabis is it's not just helpful for your cancer. This is an oil concern. We wouldn't need to be reversing the flows of oil pipelines because you're always going to need oil, right? We get it. You can't fight against what Alberta provides. But you can fight against the amount of it for sure. And you don't need to tear up the tar sands. Sorry, everybody up in Alberta listening to this that now just click to another station that doesn't play Neil Young because he also expressed the same opinion. Too bad for you. You're missing out. Thing is, this stuff is good for the economy if they are to go that way. It's good for paper. It's good for plastic. It's good for transportation. It's good for food. It's good for fuel. And it doesn't deplete the soils like a lot of other plants do. You know, like if you have some kind of crop, eventually you got to rotate and put another kind of crop in, or you burn up all the sulfur, and some plants suck up different components than others, and you got to keep rolling that stuff around, or you'll get a dust bowl where you used to grow things. And that's happening. That's happening. But with cannabis, you don't have that. It's a weed, you know. It literally is, and it grows plentifully. And I just want to make sure I get this in because I think it's really important.
Is this all the topic that's on your website?
Oh, yeah, I cover all these topics, man. This is all on conspiracyqueries.com. It's all tucked in there. Cannabis is just a small, it's a large piece of a huge problem. Solved. I mean, as soon as you get it into a way to use it as fuel, a way to use it as paper, a way to use it as building materials, you can use it as flooring in your house. I mean, it's astounding. It's like bamboo. It's very resilient. And really, a lot of the problems that we have, if they were able to be handled. This is why they expunged it from the national consciousness over 100 years ago. You know, you can look up cannabis on the internet and find really old pictures of really old liniment bottles from like 1913 to 1920 saying, you know, this has cannabis oil and it's good for this and that. And they knew that back then. And it wasn't called marijuana. That was a stigma they threw on it later to make it seem like the dirty Mexicans were bringing it over and associating it with crime. And they've created crime. Now, as soon as the money system settles down, because nobody is going nuts looking for a job and everything, and they get the economic system where it should be, and this would be where cannabis would play a huge role. You're not going to have these issues where criminal gangs are buggering it up to the point where they're making and selling this stuff illegally and dangerously on the sly, causing a lot of health and problems like fires.
Right. Are you making it yourself? Because
I have done. That's how I got started, like day one. I don't do it anymore.
With
because,
alcohol
like I said,
with alcohol or butane?
Alcohol.
So you're okay. So honey oils and such from back in the 70s, bringing it back. Good job.
Well, I never made that stuff back then, but yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
No, you're bringing it back is what I said. You're bringing back the whole concept of the honey oil. Because the kids today are using the butane to make this stuff called dab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've tried it, and I don't know what it offers you. Okay, I'm not going to advocate for or against.
No,
dab
me neither. Other than they're calling it pink crack. Pink crack.
Well, I know it'll get you high. Yeah. And I know you can make it yourself, but I don't know much about it. And what I really don't know is I don't know if it's helpful or healthy for me.
Healthy is what I actually wanted to know. That's why I'm asking, is the oil for which you're talking about the dab? Because the honey oil is the dab. It's just a concentrated version of that used with butane. Right.
Well, honestly, now I don't know anything about that. I just don't, because it never was on my radar as something that could help with my cancer, and that's been target zero for me the whole time. Everything else is a peripheral learning. So I'm not out there trying to get high all the time, although sometimes I do, and that's why I know I'm feeling better than other times when I don't.
No, 100%. So you I don't know if you're dancing around it, but I really want to hear it. Other than you're taking these two oils to keep yourself at some level of, so where are we with where is your health at with the PSA today?
Oh, yeah. So it came crashing down in February. I started to get, things were just getting really, really bad, and March was a disaster, and I shut down basically doing anything and anything. Yeah, that includes going out. I missed some friends' events, which I didn't like to do. I missed gigs. I missed all kinds of stuff. And I had no choice. I thought I might be going down for the count this time, and it took me harder. I lost a lot of weight. I got down to 143, which is not great for a guy 6 feet who usually tips in at around 180, 190. And so, yeah, I lost a lot of weight, and basically, man, I'm rebuilding. I'm coming back again. I hit the wall. I came back. I have a good doctor who has shepherded me through a course of radiation. See, basically, I came at it so bad. I came at it in a bad place, and I managed to beat it down to a place where I had a really successful 2014. But when it came back at the beginning of 2015, the PSA that was already a nightmare at 700 came in at 1285.
Yeah, 1285. So where are we now? What was your last PSA after the radiation?
Gee whiz. Had I made the call yesterday in time before the doctor office closed, I could have told you, but now I have to wait till Monday.
All right.
But I will tell you that after a week of the changes, I went from, and I was still in the hospital. This was over 2 months ago now. About 2 months ago, actually. I went from 1285 to 1150 in 1 week, and it was dropping. And I can tell it's been dropping since because of what I can do and how I can get around. So I don't know where it's at, but it could be anywhere between 300 and 1,000. I don't know.
So you're feeling good. You're feeling good is what you're telling me. You're on the
yeah.
And we're taking our double dose of the medical marijuana in the oil only. You're not smoking it. You're not vaping it.
I am vaping it. I do also vape it.
Oh.
And a fascinating thing I might add is some of my caregivers are completely on board with this and understand that it works and is helpful, and they don't advertise it. They say, well, good, you're doing that. Yeah, that's good. I read a lot of stuff. Keep doing it. I can't talk about it. They kind of dust themselves away from it,
Brutal.
Understandably.
No, it's brutal that they can't support something that's working.
But I've been also tested every day almost. I've had a nurse here in my home now a couple of times a week. Now we're down to 1 time a week. I was in the hospital full on for like 4 weeks, and almost 4 weeks, not quite. But I should have been in the hospital the 2 weeks prior, God. And during that time, man, you get your blood tested every day, and you get your not your blood, they put the cuff on you, and the Larry Horowitz joke, you get your blood tested and blood pressure tested, and you do all that stuff just to see how you're doing. All the time, my blood pressure was good. But you know what else they do? They put that little red light clip on your finger. You know what that measures?
Your pulse?
Well, no, but it takes it into account. But they measure your oxygenation rate. How well are your lungs performing?
Oh.
And the other day, I never knew what that thing was. They put it on and they go away and they write stuff down. But I asked her the other day, what is that thing? She said, oh, that's the oxygen. Anyway, your lungs are at 100% capacity. So, yeah, I've been vaporizing through most of this and all of this, and I don't.
There's
smoke.
your point.
I don't smoke. I don't.
There's
smoke
your point. He was trying to tell you that vaporizing is not making your lungs even 1% less for the lungs.
That's right. And I know this now because I've been vaporizing constantly since, constantly. I mean, every day at some point between November 2013 and last night.
Yeah, so, no. For the last 4 years, I'm 3 grams a day, and so that's how my life has been. And
you're vaporizing, or
I am vaporizing. I am using a bong, and
it passes through the bong, cools it off.
No, I also use a bong. I
see. Okay.
I have
so you smoke as well.
I do smoke, but I got to be honest. As a 2-pack-a-day smoker who gave up in 2005, only to pick up marijuana so he could walk around. Yeah, I'm feeling great. I mean,
good.
I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, dude. So it clearly doesn't have the tar levels. It doesn't have the anti-physical capabilities. I work out after smoking a joint because I can.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette, that's what you did after.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I want to get this in. Okay, I don't know how much time you got. I don't know how you're going to edit this thing. I'll just say this.
Oh, no, I'll just let you know that this goes out in full capacity as one thing, that the kids is one segment, you and I talking is another.
Oh,
I take
great.
a clip that will have, hopefully, your website, as you did that whole rant about the things that it's good for, and then you popped your website, and then at the end, that could be possibly the clip.
Okay.
We'll also do the same thing at the end as a wrap-up, which could possibly be the 3-minute clip. But, yeah, that's how this thing gets put together. It gets popped onto my the website, which promotes live from my bedroom online, which is the Palmcast Network, which is telling fruit products to go blow themselves up.
Okay, well, right. Good then, because then I want to make sure I get this in because, sometimes I say it at the beginning or the end or the middle, and I just feel like I really want to get it in. It's super important. There's a lot of uptightness regarding cannabis use. It was a successful stigmatization plan by those that chose to make it, unsavory and of the criminal.
Again, you have the ears of a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So you're talking to the youth, and I got to tell you right now, I wish I wasn't kidding because I love it. My son brought home a health project, and it was to learn good drugs, bad drugs, and medical marijuana is on the list of good drug.
It's on the list of good drugs?
It is, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, here's the thing you're going to run into. You might run into if you're a person who is considering cannabis or you want to try it, and I'm not advocating it and selling it. I'm just saying it works well for me, and I know people that use it. So that's a legal kind of protection I put around myself, by the way.
Good.
So basically, there's this. You're going to run into this guy, this woman. Well, they're very uptight and religious, and usually probably Christian, but sometimes Jewish too, and sometimes any kind of religion will take a person to a place.
Any kind of religion will do. Okay.
Yeah, they find it disgusting and offensive that, you would use this substance, and that this is an abomination, and they don't like seeing the kids at the parking lot or the 7-Eleven sucking on this stuff. And listen, of course the kids aren't supposed to be using it, but I mean, we don't, you could just say that about Rona or some hardware. Well, hammers, you don't want to get a hammer into the hands of a 5-year-old kid. It could really hurt himself. Yeah, I know. So we make sure they don't get it. So stop telling me about how kids aren't supposed to use cannabis, because we already know this. And you can't police everything to every level. But that's not what I wanted to say. Here's the thing. People get upset, and they're very Christian, and they're very religious. And here's what I like to tell them. God, okay, now I'm not even advocating God or not. I'm not.
No,
even
you're an
saying
atheist, but you don't practice, thank God. I heard the clip.
I'm going to say that it doesn't matter what I am. It matters that a lot of people that get upset about this are religious. So fine and dandy. Because luckily for them, all they have to do is open the page of their favorite Bible and turn to Genesis 1:11. It's right there on the first page, you lazy people. And all you have to do is read 1:11, and it says, "And God said," who was that?
God,
right? The guy you always defer to, right?
As long as they're religious people. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. This is who this is for. Yeah. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed."
Nice.
That's our friend cannabis. Hello.
Yeah.
And everything else that yields seeds, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind. In other words, the fruit that can make more fruit from itself, like anything that has a seed in it.
Right.
It says, "Whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. So let's just wrap that up again. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, cannabis, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. So that's 11. Okay, that's the whole chapter of 11. Oh, goodness. Now let's go to 12. "And the earth brought forth the grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good."
Right.
Sorry. Who saw that it was good?
God.
The guy that gave it to us to use.
Nice.
So anytime you get a religious wacko in your face preaching to how nuts it is and how it's a sin and all of this, you just tell them, you should learn your own rules before you start quoting them to other people. Genesis 11 and 12 puts this in my pocket, and it's been helping me.
Nice.
Now you get to turn around and go away.
Nice. And then right after that, just tell them blood transfusions. They're good too. All right.
Yeah, that's the other kind of.
Yeah, just keep them all crazy. But
it's prescribed by their doctor. It's prescribed by their number one guy. Yeah. So I don't know what kind of ignorance takes hold in the person who says he's religious and goes around with all this negative, like the whole thing about gay people. I mean, so it says in the Bible they're supposed to not do that. Well, I don't even know where it says that, but I do know that it also says you should be put to death for eating shellfish. So, are we killing everybody outside of, Red Lobster? I don't think so.
Nice.
So it's just, you can't be applying those ridiculous laws, here and there, a little piece at a time. Either shut up and understand that this guy meaning your God has already, in the first page, like before we can even get started with this whole creation thing and all the people and Cain and Abel and everything else and all the wars and the violence and everything else, first the guy has to set the stage. This is God. And he said, gee whiz, they're going to need some of that herb that yields its own seed. Yeah, I invented that. Oh, it's good. So stop with the argument. It's over. Get over yourself.
That's funny.
Sorry, I'm really wound up.
No, it's good. No, because I just recently heard the same kind of story about the burning bush actually being a bush that was burning the seed for the mushrooms.
Yeah. You got pharaohs locked up entombed in ancient Egypt, and they're finding cannabis both for pleasure and medical application back then.
Right.
I mean, of course, these are the guys that read the Bible and knew that kind of stuff, or knew what was going into the Bible. Anyways, like
Right.
this is not a mystery or any new thing. What it is it's a thing that 100 years ago, the
Control.
medical profession and the transportation profession and
Yeah.
a lot of other people realized, if we get rid of this thing, it's kind of a linchpin,
Right.
and we can have our separate. We can have our separate ways of making money. So the forestry guys get to tear down the Amazon and BC and everywhere else. The oil guys get to rape the planet, and this idiocy of Alberta to continue with this horrible rate of oil excavation while you've got stuff that's going on in the deep water horizon down in the Gulf. That oil's still there. They just sunk it to the bottom with that dispersant.
Right.
And then you've got the situation on the California beaches right now where general folks are getting ticketed because they're not licensed to be removing the slop. There's people down there with construction buckets and stuff,
right.
filling up the slop with their own shovels on their own time, and they're getting ticketed because it's not sanctioned. I mean, this whole thing is ridiculous, and you just have to wake up one day and say, I don't give a crap about any of that stuff.
Yep.
I'm just gonna continue with what I know is right. Let the chips fall where they may.
Okay, kid. So if there's something in your life that you really feel this passionate about, it just sounds like there's not going to be any stopping you. I'm not going to plan on stopping you. I just have to try to give you an advised version of how to try to do things through the bureaucracy, because that's actually, it's like they say if you want to make change, you got to join the system and change within. But the truth is that the people that really did that went out and made change and then got shot in the face and then something changed.
Absolutely. They all do.
So everyone needs a martyr, even Christianity. So
I mean, you have that in the government. You got this wacko bunch of nuts right now, the Stephen Harper thing. Won't get way too heavy into that, but just to say,
right.
The system as it stands, the system that you say you want to join and change from the inside is so screwed up anyway. It's impossible, because what you got here is a system where millions of people actually vote for the Green Party. Okay, they actually do. And because of the way the system is structured and ridings and etc., it doesn't matter that millions of people vote for them. They don't get a voice in the House because there's not enough of them living in one area. As
right.
if that means anything.
Right.
So what if they're not in one area and they're one riding? You got millions of people in this country that see the sensibilities of what the Green Party is for and understand what they're criticizing against, but their voice doesn't get heard. They have one person in the House, the leader, that's it. And so these guys want a proportional representation, which means that, however many people vote, you will be reflected with a voice in the House. And of course,
right.
The conservatives and the liberals want to fight tooth and nail against this thing. And of course, because as long as they don't have proportional representation, you will have either a conservative or liberal government tipping back and forth, grabbing the reins and keeping the little punks, the NDP and the Greens, away from it. But if the NDP get in next time, and that's a ridiculous notion to think of. I know it happened in Alberta.
Right.
But if they were to get in, they would actually, they say they would, one of their main things is to change proportional representation. So what I'm saying is, if you were really a Green person, you would not vote Green this time. You would vote for the NDP this time, which is nuts. You're voting for a party that's not yours. You'd vote for the NDP. They would get in. They would change the laws. And then in the next election, you'd be able to vote Green again and make it count. But, people are so limited. They go, no, I got to vote Green. I got to go Green. If I don't vote Green. But then what they're going to do when they split the left is they're going to leave the stupid conservatives and probably maybe not so a majority, but still running the show.
Yeah, they will. If they split their vote, that's exactly what will happen. So kids, when in 12 years from now, when you have a vote, listen to that. That was a good one.
Yeah, if we're still in the same structural system. Everybody looks like they're bailing out. You got Peter MacKay bailing out, grabbing his.
Wow, you love politics. So are you gonna run? Or is this part of your day? Is this part of your, or just because of our voice and being on stage, we can't help ourselves with having an opinion this way?
Well, it's been the subject matter of my material for quite some time. Anything to do with politics, yeah, and it's only gotten more so where I've seen how the negative portrayal of cannabis and the laughing attempt to try to put it into a system of distribution is
right.
completely inefficient, especially when it's run by people who really don't want it to exist at all and really are trying to make it as hard to deal with as possible. Of course, it's going to be a hassle.
Are you taking off to England? Are you going to do what most of my fellow brethren, the most popular of the stand-up community, that's where they seem to go? I
was on the front wave of that. I was going out there in 97 through 2000, and it was really close at the time for me to go there in 99, 2000. But I wound up getting a fantastic voice gig that just paid an unbelievable amount of money. And it was impossible for me to move for a couple, 3 years, during which time I met someone and got rooted and had kids and all that kind of stuff. So I almost made it there. But I now have a show that will be airing there and in Europe. And I imagine at some point I will be paying at least a visit or two. Yeah.
When you mean show, like a touring stage show?
No, my radio show, conspiracyqueries.com,
Nice.
has been picked up by Digital Audio Britain and Talk Radio Europe, and it'll be starting soon over there. I've been on. It's funny because right after Bill C-51 came in and they voted for it, including Justin, the idiot.
That's Trudeau, I'm assuming. I'm assuming.
Justin Trudeau.
Yeah,
This is a guy trying to distinguish himself from the alternative by voting in the exact same. Heavy-handed, nonsensical policy such as Bill C-51.
Yeah, but he'll do it with a joint in his mouth. So is that not supposed to be making it better for us?
No, it's not, because he's not even portraying the legalization of cannabis properly, or the decriminalization, or whatever tag you want to put on it. But basically,
so if you were Justin Trudeau, what should you be doing proper to make it proper so the Liberals really get in with the proper movement?
Well, I don't want to help him because I think he's a moron.
Oh.
Him backing this Bill C-51.
It was ridiculous. Yes,
it was a huge mistake.
It was.
He explained why he made the decision.
And I heard it.
I'll give him that. I just happen to thoroughly disagree with the explanation. So, it was a step above that he even offered the reason why.
Okay.
I just thought, well, that's a silly reason why. It's the wrong reason why. And that is not the kind of judgment I was hoping for or expecting from someone that's going to need to lead a party with a lot more difficult judgmental calls to make than that one. And you blew that. So get out of here. I don't want anything to do with you.
Whatever hits the airways, is it available to us on a podcast at some point?
Yeah, sure. Conspiracyqueries.com. I've got about 70, 80 shows up there.
Nice.
Over the past couple of years. Now, it's been tough because when I was at SiriusXM doing it every week, that was one thing. But then I started to get sicker and sicker, and then I wasn't at the studio anymore, and so I kind of fell off a regular schedule, and I basically put them out whenever I could.
Right. So
now it's been picked up overseas. I'm trying to get a few shows in the can before I start so that I don't hit a dry spot right out of the gate.
I understand that. I do the same thing. That's what you saw Saturday mornings at 10 a.m.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And every Friday we air these things at 9-ish. That's how they go out there on my cast, and then I use the social media to put them out there on the platform. For sure.
It's super exciting, though, because I guested on a show there, and this is how all this came to be a couple of weeks ago. And the response I got from that one guest appearance on that show was probably equal to the response I got for all of the shows I put out over the last couple of years here. So it was all good.
Wow. So you found your audience, the people who are willing to listen and understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
man. I thank that's so happy for you. Now, just to go through, I'd like to thank you again for your time with me and my kids here live from my bedroom.
Sure. If there's any questions about the cannabis thing that I have gone
missed,
over,
right?
or
No. I just want to make sure you're totally in understanding of what took place today. My son, who is 10 years old, did his own interview this morning. I don't do interviews; I do chats. But he actually went online and saw that you are, and I'm reading it here. It says that you made movies, but clearly you didn't.
I don't know who.
It's your Wikipedia. It's your Wikipedia page.
Oh God!
So anyone can change that. And by the way, by movies, that could be in clips online because people who could change that.
I've been to that Wikipedia page several years ago when I was still on the Royal Canadian Air Farce. I went to that page because I couldn't believe there was one at the time. And I thought, what? And I changed one thing on it because they had the date wrong on my birthday. So that's all. But I've not looked at it forever. And if it's saying I'm making movies, it needs to be corrected.
Yeah, that's very funny. Okay.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of things here and there, but it's,
no, that's not your forte. Your forte is doing the hard talk radio, trying to break people from their silences. And please look around, look left and right. So you got to believe what you read online. That's all I wanted to say about that. So England, I'm so happy I talked about that. You said volcano because it's one of your favorite things to do because you like to erupt. I am assuming this is where we were going, but we had kids in the room.
No, I was going to this particular piece of hardware brought to you by the company from Germany.
Yes.
Storz und Bickel, and they make a thing called a volcano.
They do. It's the I didn't buy that one. I bought the smaller version of the vaporizer. That's a tabletop version, the volcano. Yeah. It
is. What did you get? The Mighty?
No, I got the other one from. Actually, I got it. I'll say from the Hot Box. Why not? Hot Box there in Kensington Market. No, I didn't.
It's got a little single.
It's a single tin. It's like it fits perfectly in a pop can. Can I help you with that one?
Oh yeah, sure.
So it's that's how big it is exactly. If you put it in a pop can, it looks like you're having pop.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, another one.
Yeah, good times. So what else were we? Number 5, but then number 17. And the only reason I'm asking about it is because you said, if you would have asked me like somebody. My favorite number is 8, but 17, because of numerology, is the number that follows me. So if I see 8, I follow it. If I see 17, it means I'm supposed to. It's a concept of information.
Well, I came across 17 a long time ago. A friend and I kind of both noticed it, and we this is years ago,
Okay.
and we talked about it. It was like, it's always 17. You notice that? So like in a TV show where a guy's walking down a hall of a New York apartment, he has to knock on a door, it's almost always 17. I just kept seeing it all the time out there in the world, in movies and television shows and whatever. And 17, it just became this omnipresent number. So I used to rip it off the top of my head, but then now I go to 5. That's the date of my birth. So
Right. No, 17, I thought in the world of comedy, that's the go-to, they're lying. What is there, 17 hookers? Women that work the street. 17 used to be that number where people went to. But yeah okay, so 17. And I would have noticed that 8's an 18. That's usually the cab number, or the people's, like in Rocky, 18 in Kabbalah.
Right.
So it's a number. It means chai, which is kind of funny if you're smoking marijuana.
yeah.
You're trying to get chai, which is also lucky, and life. Yeah, so I always like that. Take a 2-4, take 6 away. You got chai. Big fan. So it's,
Chai.
Yeah, chai. CHAI, chai. So that's where I was living. And then I just wanted to make sure you understood that. Are you, with your condition, with PSA, clearly you're getting better. Are you planning on taking more radiation?
No, that's the whole goal. The whole goal was never to have any ever. But when I was where I was at, it was just absolutely essential. The back pain, the hip pain, they just needed to do something because nothing else was working. And you know what else I'll share with you that's kind of amazing?
Please.
Was, I said I was always like 180, 190 pounds, right? Like pretty much since high school, that's where I've been. And it turns out, though, that after they did the radiation treatment, and leading up to it, I had a great difficulty eliminating in the bathroom, either from the front end or the back end. And when I went into the hospital, they gave me laxatives and stool softeners to make sure this would, clear up.
Right.
Both ends. It was just super difficult to do either or. And I mean, I'd go to the bathroom every 10 minutes and get like out not even like an eyedropper full of liquid.
Right.
And that 5 minutes later, I have to do it again, and it was driving me literally insane. And once the radiation was done, they needed to do a catheter because I was no longer peeing at all. Right. So they had to. And meanwhile, you're still filling up with liquid, even if you're not drinking. You're eating some things, and liquid's forming. Right. And so they did a catheter, and it didn't take. Nothing happened. Nothing came out. That's how badly messed up my insides were. Even if you lanced a hole in that thing, it wouldn't release its amount of liquid. So they had to do a little more serious of a catheter, which is called they use a camera and a scope, and they go in there and hook it all up. And they go right inside, and they can see where they're going. And that blows a balloon up inside your bladder. And then the opened flow allows for the urine to come out. So as soon as they did that thing, I went back to my room in the pain that I was feeling from the procedure I just described. You can imagine it if you have a penis and you know what a clamp and a hose is.
Right, kids? You got the clamp and the hose? Yeah, don't do this
So
at
I
home.
go back to my room and I fell asleep for hours, which I hadn't done in years.
Okay.
And I woke up and went, oh my God, I've been sleeping for 5 or 6 hours. I went back to sleep again. I did that 3 times. When I finally really awakened from this rest, because basically when you're getting so tired from any of these diseases, you're building up a deficit of rest. And
but this is post-radiation treatment.
Post-radiation treatment,
right?
So basically everything had been done that they were going to do, but there I was needing to go to the bathroom. And so it wasn't happening. So they put this thing in. And do you know what? The next morning, the guy comes in, the doctor, he says, do you have any idea how much liquid you have released since we properly installed that catheter? I said, no. Being an honest guy, I had no clue. 3.1 liters.
Wow, that's 3 times more than I was going to say. I said a liter maybe in my head. 3.
Imagine carrying 3. And he says, and he's all excited, right? This guy never really got excited either. He goes, it was inside a very enlarged, obviously, and very hardened bladder. You've been carrying this around for a long time. And as I look back over the past couple of years, I realized, yeah, I have been always carrying that around. And so it's been something that I've always felt is no longer there. And that is the tension the pressure, the irritation factor of just need to go to the bathroom. I just have to go to the bathroom. I know you were talking to me right now. I just have to go to the bathroom. Excuse me. I just have to go to the bathroom. You know that energy when you just have to take a leak? Well, that was a part of my makeup for like the last 2 years.
But is that part of the makeup of prostate cancer?
I'm on the radio. Yeah. So that's how that went. I mean, the whole thing was ridiculous. So then I just kind of sat there and eased my way out of that pain. And because it just kept filling up. This bag kept filling up. It was 3.1 liters, and now that it's not there anymore, I don't have that sense of irritation. It's amazing. It's like a huge gift, and that it also means that I wasn't really 180, 190 when I thought I was. It was There was about 8 pounds of liquid in there that was never needing to be there. So I'm thrilled to have that done.
I'm thrilled that you're back. But what were the telltale signs? I mean, what got you to the doctor the first time? Blood? Or like, what was it that got you there?
The first time was I just woke up in so much pain one day. It was just ridiculous.
And where was the pain? Was it in your groin?
It was in my groin. It was in my
back, hips?
psoas muscles in my back and my ribs, all over the place.
Ribs?
Yeah.
Prostate cancer, ribs?
Well, because it goes up there, right? It metastasizes up there.
With the bones?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So basically, it got all over the skeleton, and but I have been able to chase it away with a lot of fantastic things like cannabis and like high-intensity vitamin C, which I take intravenously from time to time. But I haven't had that in a while because this was a whole different color, this hospital visit.
All right. Is there anything else on your med scale that you would suggest people to have? Some kind of like smoking woodgrass? I don't know. I'm making.
No, I don't have anything else that I can suggest in that way. No.
All right. Because you talked to Puff Mama. She has me smoking willow leaves and such now.
Oh, so. Yeah, sure. No, there's good things. There's like mullein is good for your lungs, but now I've learned cannabis is good for your lungs.
It is, yes.
There's a lot of good different things out there, but I've just been focused on what do I need to get out of my trouble.
All right, and how are you doing with? You said you had kids, so how do your kids are dealing with? Like as I said, I'm pretty upfront with my children.
It's very difficult. It's a very difficult time. I'm not with my ex-wife, and we're having a difficult time, to tell you the truth.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But and with the children, is it the explanation of the concept of what's going on with Daddy? Is it?
Oh
clear?
Yeah, they're aware of it. Yeah, they know what's going on. But obviously that's not any fun to deal with. And I just get it across that like I'm kicking this thing, and I didn't tell them initially until I knew I had turned a corner.
Right. I'm talking about the medicine, not
No, exactly.
Oh,
the medicine. They've seen me make it once. So, I wanted to normalize it because they were at the stage where they were just going to high school and that kind of thing where the bad kids smoke it and everything,
Right.
And I wanted them to understand it's not just for bad kids smoking.
It's not just for bad kids anymore. It's for back pain. All right.
Exactly.
All right. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. That was probably the only weird part of my day. Everything else you said, I wanted to say in front of my kids. And I'm happy you're on the road for, I want to wish happiness and hope. I'm just actually thinking white light, and I'm sending it to you. Thank you very much for taking my call and finally spreading. Yeah, I have no other questions for medicine other than because you've explained it now, and because I've been dealing it for 5-6 years, I'm not too sure who you were supposed to be sending people to if cannabis is an option because the doctor isn't educated and Puff Mama isn't allowed to sell it. So there's this weird little place where we're sending people that I don't know what I'm supposed to do if I can't vote liberal and not vote the Green Party.
Well, let me give you a couple of websites, okay?
Okay, guys, websites, including your own. Here we go.
This is where I got most of my knowledge, or at least kicked off how I was able to get most of my knowledge. So the first one I came across was called phoenixtears.ca. So that's PHOENIX.ca, or sorry, PHOENIX tears, like you're crying, .ca. Mm-hmm. And that refers to the oil itself. And that's the whole story of the guy that apparently came up with all of this, named Rick Simpson. He's Canadian, and he's not allowed in the country somehow. Go figure. There's another great one called, and there's a ton of websites out there, but I highly recommend these two. That's why I'm only going to say these two.
Go ahead.
And there's lots of other good ones as well.
Okay.
But the other one is called cureyourowncancer.org. All lowercase, cureyourowncancer.org. And that's a story there of a guy who was a biochemist who was felled by this and would never have taken cannabis in his life ever, but heard about it and started research it with his own abilities and laboratory equipment and whatnot, and he is thoroughly convinced it works fantastically well. So, and he describes how it works and what it does and everything. So those are the two websites I recommend to anybody.
No, there's a third, which is conspiracytheory.com, which is going to be available to people in England, but it's available to people in England now because
it's actually conspiracy queries.
Queries.com. That's probably why I call this a chat, not an interview.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because my credentials are low. All I have is children and a microphone. So, again, those are the three places that you can totally reach out. And in England, we're starting that sooner than later.
Yes.
And who's normally your guests on your shows? Like, who are the people that you're reaching out to? Like
anybody that's a whistleblower, somebody that knows something that's going on, anybody well studied in a particular field of arcane research that I think might be better off more in the public eye than less in the public eye. So I've had oil company whistleblowers on. I've had people telling me that aliens come from outer space to do certain things to us. I mean, it's across the board. I'm just asking questions, hence the title, Queries.
Queries, not conspiracy, because it's a query, not a conspiracy.
Well, it's conspiracy queries. It's not conspiracy theories.
Nice. That's exactly right. And then wrong by Adam Powell, which is what should be exactly how my life should be. So reaching out to you again.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for all the time. I asked
welcome.
for an hour. You gave me an hour. I can't ask for anybody. I'm going to now stop the recording, and if you have anything to say it now. I'll stop and then say goodbye off air.
Okay, no, that's fine. Just hopefully that all came through.
Okay, kids, I hope you learned something. Yes, I signed my soul on the dotted line.